Hello little screamers, and welcome back to the channel Scream in Style, where we talk all about horror and create some looks based off what we are talking about in today's video. And in this video, we are going back into the series of the final girl battle, and this decade is the 80s. It's totally gonna be like hella bodacious, gnarly with a side of tubular. So sit back, get a drink, get a little snaky snake, and let's dive into the final girls of the 80s. Here we go! So first up, we have Alice Hardy from Friday the 13th, the woman who whacked off Jason's mother's head. In slow motion, we all rooting for it, we fucking loved it. And as Alice is a final girl and one of the originals, and because of her unwavering determination to survive, she finds strength in her anger and able to kill Pamela Voorhees. And she does it spectacularly. I enjoyed watching Alice Hardy, and plus, I really liked her hairstyle. Maybe here in a few years, I can get there. So I chop this all off, kind of like Pamela Voorhees' head. I just like, it is no joke when people say when you cut off all your hair, you feel like this weight of 1,000 pounds lifts off your shoulders. Shit is not a myth. That's what I felt. It's like a spiritual awakening. And I don't regret it. I love that. Anyway, next up we have Nancy Thompson in Nightmare on Elm Street. The all-American girl next door. She's sweet and kind, and like any other 15-year-old, she was very vulnerable and scared. But what's great about Nancy is she quickly makes a choice to become a fighter, purchasing a book of old booby traps and some other words in this long ass title I can't remember. With her bravery and courage that she finds, she brings Freddy back into our world and becomes one of his greatest adversaries. Plus, she's always made having a white streak in your hair look pretty fucking cool. And now, Ginny Field from Jason Part 2. She's bright, she's caring, she's strong, and she takes advantage of her child psychology training and uses it to outwit Jason by dressing up as Pamela Voorhees and doing so well to the point that Jason actually believes her. And by him buying that charade, it gives Ginny the opportunity to, right in the neck, slice him like a good brie cheese in that thick, meaty, veiny neck of his. Branding her one of the most clever girls in slasher history, or should I say, herstory. Queen. Next up, we have Jamie Lloyd from Halloween 4. She is definitely the youngest out of the final girls, and one of my favorites because given her age and the role that she had to perform, she did really well, and not once did I not believe her. She is at a bit of a disadvantage against a supernatural evil uncle, but she's brave, so brave, braver than most people twice her age. A good example is when she doesn't hesitate to go after her foster sister Rachel to prevent Michael from killing her at a Halloween party on a farm with low odds for Jamie to do anything about it, but she still goes, along with her cute little friend who is way in over his head, way more than Jamie is. Like, it's super sweet, and I'm just like, no, don't go. However, how can you not be such a brave little girl whenever your mother's Laurie Strode? Also, side note, watching Halloween 4 for the first time in many years, Halloween Ends doesn't seem like complete nonsense. Be kind in the comments, please. I mean, Michael did the same thing to Jamie as he did with Corey. He passes evil onto another person. Now, I understand it's not the exact same thing, considering Jamie, after almost murdering her foster mother and got put into a hospital for children, got better and the evil exited out of her and all that left was the connection. It still is similar enough to understand why the writers went into the direction they did. Now we have Kirsty Cotton in Hellraiser, one of my all-time favorite horror movies, hands down. Kirsty is considered to be one of the most underrated final girls out of everybody else, so the comments below, you tell me if you agree or disagree. I personally think she definitely deserves to be in the top tier. But she saves herself by bargaining with the Cenobites to bring them Frank, but she was quick on her feet when the Cenobites broke their agreement and used her sharp mind to come up with an escape plan pretty fast, sending them back to the realm all by reversing the sequence of the puzzle box and essentially outwitting Pinhead. She's sharp, she's got wits, she's got the smarts. Now we have Tina Shepard, Friday the 13th, Part 7, New Blood. From what I come to understand, she's easily seen as one of the most fun final girls to come from the Jason franchise. And Tina must be a descendant from Carrie because she, unlike all the other girls, has telekinetic powers and uses them to go up against Jason by electrocuting him by electrical power lines to a levitating gasoline can and setting his ass on fire. But that's not it. Oh no. No. She ends up finishing him off by raising her own father from his watery grave in Crystal Lake to rise and drag Jason down, forcing him to be Tina's dad's roommate for a while until, Jason becomes an insufferable, inconsiderate, just downright nasty bunkmate who constantly whines, talks about his mommy. So it finally all becomes unbearable, and Tina instead kicks the mama boy the hell out. But besides all that speculation, my imagination running wild, it is pretty cool that Tina had telekinetic powers. Something that Jason hadn't faced till then, I'm pretty sure. There's so many movies in the franchise. If I messed up, you can tell me. And now we have Alice Johnson from Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5. So Nancy was a great adversary to Freddy, and now we have Alice, the next worthy adversary, and did what unfortunately Nancy couldn't do, which is survive. And also inheriting dream powers from her friend Kirsten, and also absorbing all the other dream powers from her friends whenever they passed on. Ultimately became the Dream Master and was on a very equal playing field to kick Freddy's ass. However, I will say I want to introduce a girl that was very crucial, and I believe it was movie 5. Yeah, I think it was movie 5 in the plot. Anyway, Yvonne Miller. She deserves to be talked about because I think it's fair to say Alice wouldn't have survived if it wasn't for Yvonne finding Freddy's mother's grave. And from what I come to understand, there are many who believe that Alice, even with all her awesome fancy acrobatic skills and Dream Master powers, she's still not as memorable as Nancy. However, to me, Alice was just as determined, strong, and brave. For someone who finds the realms of dreams extremely fascinating and seeks to better control and understand them, I would love to have Alice's powers. But of course, like the rest, she dies. If you follow the comic series. If it's just the movie, we assume that her and her son live happily ever after, but in the comics, she does die saving her son. And Freddy lives on to terrorize us all until we die of old age, or constant disappointment from remakes and reboots. And now, last but not least, Vanita Brock from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. A disc jockey who wants to make an impact, a difference in the world. So instead of just covering a hunky-dory, podunk chili cook-off, she goes and chases after an infamous and dangerous legend, but manages to escape. During the film, she uses Leatherface's attraction for her as a tool to survive, and inadvertently, if you think about it, helps to create one of the weirdest, unsettling, surprisingly somehow cute horror couple with Leatherface. It's sad, really, because all Leatherface wants is love, and he found himself a girlfriend in part 2. An unwilling girlfriend, but he still found one. It's kind of twistingly adorable. I don't know. What do you think? Am I crazy for thinking that? But in the end, Vanita is a survivor through and through, and came out the victor to continue to try to achieve the goal of making a difference in the world. And that, my little screamers, wraps up the final girls from the decade of the 80s. And now time has come. Still a pick. My winner, my queen, is close because I do want to, is tied with Jamie Lloyd because, like I said, she is such a brave little girl, and it astounds me And I hope that I have bravery like that. If I was ever in a situation that is dire or calls for that much bravery, she's the stand-in. She's the gold stand-in, and I want to rise to the challenge. But I think Nancy Thompson is there for me on my favorite out of the 80s final girls. Because what it is for me is the switch. It's the switch of her being scared and vulnerable, and she quickly goes into fight mode, into defending her mother and her friends. She goes and she makes that effort without having any superpowers that she has. She just uses what she can and sets up all these booby traps. She's not a complacent final girl. She doesn't just accept it and scream her head off and is helpless. She really takes the bull by the horns and sticks him with his own horns. Cha, cha, cha. This is not a good motion. Let's not do that. You know what I mean. Thanks for tuning in and watching, and stay tuned for the final girl battle of the 90s for the next one to come. Don't be shy. Let me know if you disagree, agree with anything I've said about these girls. Feel free. Go at it. Just try not to break your fingers. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.